I'm going to do a quick video. I'm sorry for the mowing in mowing the lawn in the backyard. Very close by. It's you're just going to hear it. So that will be the noise that you hear. So I apologize. This video is just quickly in relation to the public steering last video, but there's so much depth here. This is probably deeper, if not deeper, much deeper than the narrative itself, and this is why I want to open up and be transparent about it, because it's like an expose within an expose, but this one's far greater. Because this is when I realised, when things were happening, when I realised just how big, dark and sinister this was. I just thought this was a pop culture topic. But when I started to question things and I was sharing things out and no one was responding, then shutting me down and suppressing my information, or following me, copying my work, which still happens now, happened today, copies my work, and then while I reference them to my work again, they silence it. They just say, oh yeah, good stuff, but they won't repost it because they don't want it affiliated with the British royal family. These are all controlled accounts. Now, this all started happening because when I'll go back to what I was saying, because I was finding this pop culture topic questionable, really questionable. And when I started uncovering the actual truths that somehow the Queen would know about this, the christening was photoshopped. So, all these things, it was being shut down. And then when I made further connections back when she was in Canada, my mind just melted. And I think that was when I realized just how dark this was, but also how controlled this whole world is. And I'm talking about almost everything and everyone on here. You're more than welcome to enjoy books and enjoy topics of discussion like the Yorks, but do know that it is a very intentionally planned, well planned and executed strategy to distract you, saying that that's the crisis of the royal family, and that will break the royal family, when there are just so many serious multiple crimes, especially paying people off to successfully execute this narrative for now over a decade, and countries, including like Stacey Schroeder. It's insane. Anyway, it's that big. That's what they're distracting you from. So I would love to believe Andrew Lowney, that he is a great author and not at all compromised, but I don't believe anyone in the UK isn't compromised. They don't have any rights anymore to say anything, so I just don't believe that one bit. And if you're have any affiliation with the royal family, you usually need permission. So discussing this and then saying you've got a book out, and then trying to specify and target the only reason why the royal family and the monarchy may crumble is because of this Chinese spy, that's very telling to me, because the Chinese spy thing is not a breakthrough, and it's not like, it's a nothing burger. Complete nothing burger. And he's made a book about it, and he's written a whole book, and he's connecting it, and then he's getting these interviews. I think somebody told me today that he got an interview with that the Vintage, I think she's Australian, which she'll never interview me. I mean, they all know about me because I do also comment on their posts, so they know about me. They just ignore me and pretend I don't exist. So that's definitely a given. This whole operation is an instructed operation. And that's definitely happening. That's fact. But I thought I'd just put a personal opinion out there, an observation that I have seen, that I would like to put out there, because I think it's just being transparent. Now, this is a personal opinion compared to the usual stuff I do and what I've just told you. This is what I've seen that I believe has happened, but I of course I can't know for certain because I can't look at people's transactional accounts and so forth. But this is my rundown of what's taken place regarding that Paula M. PSYOP, because I believe that was a PSYOP personally, my own opinion. So, months back, you'll see in my videos, I did a controlled opposition video about Paula M, because she was making the claim, and I was directed by Mystified, the account Mystified on social media. I was directed to look at her video regarding Hastings. Sorry, but I opened the door. All right, Hastings, all right. What was I saying? Sorry. Regarding the claim, I was told by Mystified to look at Paula M's video regarding a claim that Nut had a child. Now, I didn't watch the video, and I didn't watch it fully. I looked at the post online about her claim and the screenshots, and I thought it was just very, very odd, and so I looked into it in my controlled opposition video. You'll see I looked into it, and then I also a friend actually followed up on it, or a person that watches me, is my follows me. They actually helped out by contacting the Californian State Department and asking, did you actually communicate with Paula? Not Paula M. They timestamped. I think they timestamped the email and who it was from, and said, do you, under the Freedom of Information Act, can you please provide this email or ask or confirm or something like that this email was sent, and you provided this information that basically should not be published whatsoever, should not be public, because any information regarding confidential documents, usually, or sealed documents are sealed. You don't publicly disclose them to anyone. So and then that person sent a copy of that to me, and I was like, okay, so I was correct in questioning the whole claim. And around the same time, there were other accounts like Duchess of Narcissus and ORMV also claiming that Nut had a child. And I went on a live with Duchess of Narcissus. I didn't really intend to. It was when I woke up and it was happening, and I was like, oh, I want to join. And I'm not particularly naturally gifted in terms of chatting, because I'm thinking a lot and trying to process things. So they were both saying to me that this claim was correct, that Nut had a child, and it had to do with around the time of her going to Argentina, which I knew. They were saying it was done in 1990 something, and it just didn't. The timeline didn't make sense to me, so I didn't particularly agree with it. That's fine. But the claim was coming out, and I'm like, why has this claim come out all of a sudden? And I don't know if they did actually connect it to the German documentary that was coming out by Ulrich. You know that one, I did a video about the actual Ulrich and how she's propped up and set up by the British royal family. And all of her documentaries are set ups and staged. Her and that documentary about Harry that's come out now, The Lost Prince, in September this year, they teased that documentary out for a really, really long time, starting in April this year. And by around August or June, they were postponing it, but they came out, all of the royal rota. So this is why it's so involved with the British royal family. All the royal rota were coming out and saying there's this new breakthrough. I think it was royal rota. I'm sure it was royal rota. Don't quote me on that, actually, at this point. I don't want to be liable for anything right now because this is quite an explosive discussion, shall we say. Around that time, the breakthrough was that documentary. Meghan is trying to suppress all of that information from the documentary because Ulrich Grunwald is going to expose the fact that Nut has a child. And what was strange was this YouTube community aligning with that and testing that theory. But what was even stranger was the fact that after I exposed Paula M's claim that it couldn't be true, because legally, factually, it couldn't be true. You can't have a sealed document and seal it in 2019 or 2018, I can't remember what year it was, and then publicly disclose it to anybody while you're adopted out, because you would have to be adopted for it to be a sealed document, one, and usually it's sealed when you're born, under a request, and there's a different birth certificate presented in public that hides all the identifiable information of the parent. So that didn't make any sense. When I revealed that, this psyop with Paula M ensued with what I consider a psyop with Steph the Alter Nerd, and is it Sue Smith or Sue something? I can't remember her name. They did a video that was based on the exact same claim, but they said it wasn't legal, but they didn't go into why it wasn't legal. So it felt insincere and ingenuine to me, but it also felt like it was directed. And it definitely, for me, it felt like it was directed to me, my work, and what I had done. Because you're making a claim, the same claim as myself, but you're also intentionally, in a way, trivializing it and blurring it, so no one asks questions. And it's like it's re-narrating what I have already exposed. And on top of it, they then do this like really bad bullying attack towards Paula M, which I do not endorse, I do not support whatsoever. But of course, you know, any psyop is emotionally directed. Your emotions are meant to override your logic, and that is what happened through the bullying and the attack. And then you had the whole supposed YouTube community talking about it and making rules about who can actually expose things. That YouTube content creators cannot expose another YouTube content creator. If anything, you should just contact them directly and have a private message where you're like, hey girl, hey, you did something illegal and I thought you should know. Mind you, you would have to know their direct contact details. You would have to personally, particularly, know them. It was strange as well with these YouTube discussions about this whole thing, that they were all chatting together and they have regular calls together. Now, that's fine if you're friends, but these are people, across multiple countries, different timelines. I don't understand why you would be befriending you could be colleagues, you could be associates. I find it strange, especially when the risk of somebody hijacking your personal information, finding out where you live. If you're afraid for what you're exposing, or you're afraid of being bullied by Boozy, and you're afraid of being, stalked by Meghan Markle herself, of course, not the palace or anything, and tracked, then why would you be sharing these very personal, directly identifiable information to each other? And I found that very, very strange. Anyway, all that being said, rules were created. And so then I was attacked, and I still am attacked for stay in my lane, check your ego, Laura, because I'm exposing strategies and observing things correctly, and calling out bullshit. But stay in my lane, so that they don't believe that, because they're so self-righteous, but they don't even see this audience doesn't see that they're brainwashed into believing certain rules that don't make any sense either. Like you can't say, I'll be the judge of the YouTube community, but you can't judge Paula M and her claims. I'll be the judge of another YouTuber, but you can't be the judge of Paula M. It felt very directed, very intentional, very ingenuine, the whole thing. And it felt very steered. What then happened by September, when that documentary launched, I haven't seen the documentary, but from what I know, from what people have told me, that breaking claim wasn't a part of that documentary. And that would have to be in direct consequence to what happened with my exposure. Or it may not even be me. It could have been somebody else. It could have been the fact that a lot of people were exposing it and saying it was bullshit and saying it was a lie. And so intelligence picked up on the pattern of the behavioral pattern of response and reaction, not convinced of this psyop, not convinced of this narrative that was going to be portrayed in this mockumentary, because it isn't a documentary, it's completely staged and fake. So I think that was then taken out of the mockumentary. So I find that very, very strange and interesting at the same time. And these are my personal opinions, because I find it very interesting how this environment plays out. And again, how controlled this is, how steered this is. At the moment, I am actually going out and putting out my work and referencing it to a lot of the main YouTube content creators that haven't intentionally silenced me. There's so many social media accounts that are meant to be truth tellers that have blocked me for no reason, other than maybe upsetting them because I'm breaking their ideals. But that again doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's controlled accounts, and a lot of the YouTube creators have done so. And then I've had Megan's mole call me crazy, but then I think that was for something she then used as her own work or a claim, whatever. It doesn't bother me. Those personal attacks don't bother me whatsoever. It's the fact that why? Why would you say these things if you're not trying to steer the public? And that is what happened with me and this whole controlled opposition Paul M situation. But it's also connected to a fucking German palace orchestrated documentary. So I just thought I'd let that out there and give you some time to think about just this environment and what you're given and what you're told. If anything, I think something really stood out for me with that Chase Hughes video on PSYOPs. He said, I think that the most important thing was be careful with what you let in your mind, what you invite in as truth, as normal, as reality. And he said anything emotional, anything that's emotionally driven, you just block and question straight away. And I think that's really important, given this whole narrative. There is dialectic deception now being played out with Andy. They've added Andy to the mix. That's very intentional. We've also got Charles returning to full working duties, although being in chemo supposedly. I mean, yeah. But at the same time, I'm giving out my videos to all these YouTubers and social media accounts, and they tell me that's nice, and then they don't report it, or they copy my work and redirect, and so they produce a video themselves and then redirect the narrative, so the British royal family are not involved and not blamed. So this environment is 100% controlled. I can say that. I can't name anyone that I feel is a YouTube content creator that I feel is actually genuine. And I always believe people before they show me who they are, and I've even had just accounts that are not particularly invested in, they investigate the royal family and all this stuff and Meghan Markle, but they connected to a greater system. And I've had those ones even controlled and myself being disappointed in their in not committing to showing revelations to the public and showing that this is a full con of a century, multiple crimes, and no one wants to hear it. And it's intentional. It's very, very intentional. And I think it's important to get that out there. And I'm not fooled whatsoever. With a clear mind, I'm not fooled. So thanks, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. Merry Christmas. I'll probably do a video before then, but just Merry Christmas. I hope you have a wonderful time with your friends and family, and enjoying this wonderful time.